The following program, NORML Show Live, is intended for responsible adults only. We advocate for the repeal of marijuana prohibition for adults. We discuss the science, culture, and controversy about America's marijuana laws. We do not advocate or encourage any illegal activity and advise all listeners to learn their state and federal marijuana laws by visiting NORML.org, NORML.org. Opinions and claims made by guests and advertisers of NORML Show Live are their own and do not necessarily reflect the philosophy and policies of NORML. Listener discretion is advised.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
From the promise of legalization.
And I think we need to rethink and criminalize our marijuana laws.
To the agony of prohibition.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws presents NORML Show Live, Marijuana Nation. Now, here's your host, NORML's Outreach Coordinator, Radical Russ Belville.
Good afternoon, tokers and tokettes. It is Wednesday, August 4th, 2010, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us for the next 60 minutes of news, talk, interviews, information, music, comedy, questions and answers, and more for the cannabis community. And joining me here right in the studio, my good friend, the pirate, Ganja John.
Hi, everybody. My eye fell out last night.
Your eye fell out.
It fell out, and I thought it was a dream, and then I woke up this morning, and my wife goes, your eye really did fall out.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. So that always makes it tough for me, man, because I can't call in sick now.
No, you can't.
I have no excuse. I have nothing falling out of my head.
This morning when I came into the studio, I pulled my eye out of my wallet, and I go, hey, Russ, check this out. He picked it up. He goes, this was in your head?
Yeah, it's kind of scary sometimes. Also joining us in our virtual studio with nothing falling out of our head, the lovely and talented Cannabis Carrie.
Poor Ganja John. I couldn't even handle contact lenses, so I can't imagine.
Yeah, my wife wears contact lenses, and it looks like a really big contact lens. And she's putting it in this morning, and she goes, stop being a pussy. I guess I'm just more used to it. Yeah, I've never had to put anything in my freaking head before.
Oh, man. Well, we'll look forward to the practice on that when you get the new eyes and everything. That'll be a lot of fun. Carrie brings us our hemp headlines right after the first break of the show. So, Carrie, what's in the news today?
Well, I thought since it was Dr. Mitch Day that I could do a couple of health stories. One, we're going to talk about a new disorder that's going to hopefully be added to the Colorado program that has people qualify under that. We're also going to go to New Jersey because Governor Chris Christie is still running his mouth. And then I'm going to talk about a new product that's coming out on the market, and hopefully those people will be at the convention coming up in September.
Oh, excellent. All that news coming up after our first break. Also today at 20 after the hour, we'll be going down to Des Moines, Iowa to speak with Johnny Reeferseed. He's got today's Irie Wednesday toker tune from Orange Grove, a song called Token on Your Love. And as mentioned, it is Wednesday, and every Wednesday we visit with Dr. Mitch Earlywine from SUNY Albany. He's a psychologist and the professor and the author of Understanding Marijuana and Parents Guide to Marijuana. He'll be answering your live questions from our chat room. If you'd like to get involved in the chat, you do have to be a member of Stickam, and you have to send us a friend request. So get that done. I'll be looking at it throughout the show and approving those friend requests so you can get your questions in on the chat. We'll go an extended period with Dr. Mitch today, and then at the end of the show, we're debuting a new segment, Viral Viper Videos. We're going to be showing that great video that's been going around on YouTube, The Flower, and also exclusive breaking news on a brand new contest from NORML, Cypress Hill, and Slightly Stupid. So stay tuned for the details on that. Everything and more coming up on NORML Show Live today. You can follow us on our blog, the Stash blog, at stash.normal.org. Send me an email, stash@normal.org. I'm Radical Russ on Twitter, Ganja John on Twitter. We'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to NORML Show Live, the voice of the marijuana nation.
the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, or NORML, invites you to our 39th Annual National Conference, Legalization, Just Say Now, Thursday, September 9th through Saturday, September 11th, 2010, at the opulent Governor's Hotel in downtown Portland.
The war on drugs has been a quarter failure, and I think that we need to defend it and criminalize marijuana laws.
Extend your visit through Sunday, September 12th, and you can also attend the free two-day Portland Hempstock, the largest outdoor cannabis and music festival in Oregon.
I inhaled frequently. That was the point.
Just Say Now. The NORML National Conference, September 9th through 11th in Portland, Oregon. Details available on the web at norml.org/conference or by calling 202-483-5500.
If you like what you hear and would like to donate to the cause, send your check or money order to NORML Show Live, 1600 K Street Northwest, Suite 501, Washington, D.C., 20006. Your donation is a tax-deductible gift to the NORML Foundation and will be used to help support this online media. Thank you. Medical marijuana, industrial hemp, consumer cannabis. It's time for this week's NORML News with Cannabis Carrie.
Tourette's syndrome is a devastating tic disorder that leaves those with the disease held hostage by their own bodies. Characterized by physical tics and often vocal tics, researchers are now finding that cannabis helps quell the symptoms of this particular disorder. Symptoms can range from moderate to severe, and current treatments vary. A patient who suffers from Tourette's syndrome approached the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment back in March with that research in hand and asked them to please add the disorder to the list of qualifying ailments. A formal request that is required by law was submitted to the Department of Regulatory Services in Colorado on Tuesday. They have the authority to approve or deny the request. So far, it looks pretty promising, as the Health Department found the information submitted to the department in March to be sound and credible. The request they sent in read, based upon both the information supplied by the petitioner and a review of the medical literature, which shows some scientific evidence of efficacy in humans and no evidence of harm, the department is bringing this rulemaking action to add Tourette's syndrome as a debilitating medical condition for which an individual could apply to the medical marijuana program for a registry identification card. Now, this will be a welcome direction for the program, as the most recent legislation to pass was intended to curb and rein in the proliferation of dispensaries. House Bill 1284 put guidelines in place for dispensaries in an effort to curb illegitimate operations, and then Senate Bill 109 put restrictions on the doctor-patient relationships when medical marijuana is recommended. One of the sponsors of that particular bill, Representative Nancy Spence, said she has no problems with the state adding Tourette's to the list of qualifying ailments if the science points to the effectiveness of cannabis in treating the disorder. A hearing is now set for 10 a.m. on September 15th at the Health Department in downtown Denver, and it is open to the public.
This is great news. You know, people will make jokes a lot in the media and, TV shows and stuff about Tourette's syndrome, usually characterized as someone who's, can't stop cursing, right? That's always the joke, but it's a serious syndrome, and usually it's more the physical tics that people suffer from. They can be just mildly annoying to, self-injurious, hitting yourself kind of thing. So this is serious, and it's really good that Colorado is taking a look at this and is likely to add this as a qualifying condition. Here in Oregon, the most recent qualifying condition to be added is Alzheimer's agitation, for which there's also promising research for those people that suffer from that. But again, it just shows the trouble that medical marijuana still presents to patients that could benefit from it, right? We have to wait to see until there's enough people that demand it and enough evidence that comes up before the government in the state, in this case, comes around to allowing that to be a qualifying condition. In the meantime, people are suffering that could easily benefit from the use of cannabis. Since cannabis is non-toxic and so low in side effects, so much lower than what we tolerate for almost every other pharmaceutical, especially the pharmaceuticals that are normally given for syndromes like Tourette's, it should be an option of the first resort, not the last resort. It shouldn't be something patients have to lobby their lawmakers for to convince them that it works. Cannabis should be legal for all people, and then the people who need it for whatever condition will be able to access it.
New Jersey Governor Chris Christie went on vacation for 2 weeks, but before he did, he had a few things to say about Rutgers University that turned down his offer to become the lone grower of the state's medical marijuana crop. New Jersey's medical marijuana law was signed back in January of this year and was supposed to be implemented by July 1st. The nation's most restrictive medical marijuana law to date has a stipulation that the state's patients who fall under the few qualifying conditions to get an okay to use medical cannabis must obtain it from a state-sponsored dispensary. Because of the lack of planning on the state's part, the deadline to implement the plan has now been pushed back twice to allow the state to figure out just how to go about setting up the program. Governor Christie had been touting that the solution to the New Jersey medical marijuana program was to have Rutgers University grow all of the state's cannabis and then have hospital pharmacies to distribute it. Rutgers declined the request from Christie because marijuana's status as an illegal drug would jeopardize federal funding of the school. In a statement, the university said, "There is no way for Rutgers to be involved in this initiative without violating the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which we will not do. If there is a change in federal law or a change in the classification of marijuana, Rutgers would be willing to re-examine a possible role for the university." Rutgers spokesperson Sandra Landman said the university would make no further comment. Governor Christie said that he was disappointed this weekend in how the university leaders handled the situation, claiming that they originally came to him with the idea. He called their role in the whole thing disjointed and said that it didn't give him great confidence in the way decisions were being made over there. Christie, a former federal prosecutor, says he wants tighter controls over production and distribution to guard against abuses. Implementation of the new law is now set for January 2011, and the health department is scrambling to come up with ideas that will fit into the confines of the strict new law. When asked how the progress was going right before he left for vacation, Christie answered, "Not well."
Right. It's not going well because you're doing it the wrong way. You've got 13 other states to look at that have viable medical marijuana programs. If you want to find out how to control dispensaries and the production, you can look at Maine or Rhode Island or New Mexico that have state licensed operations that are they're putting into action. If you want to look at it from a commercial aspect, there's Montana and Colorado and California. There's plenty of evidence and plenty of prior case analyses here to look at, Governor Christie, without trying to shoehorn this into a federally problematic situation like putting it all at Rutgers University. I mean, come on, Governor Christie. You were a former federal prosecutor. You tell me, if you were still a federal prosecutor, if a university started growing large amounts of marijuana to be distributed to patients with money changing hands, that you wouldn't have had a severe problem with that as a former federal prosecutor. You'd have been all over that. You know it. So this is the reasoning by Rutgers is perfectly valid here. They don't want to get involved when they've got these federal contracts to have to worry about. And from a patient's point of view, it's not a good idea to have all your eggs in one basket, so to speak. It's not a good idea to have a monopolization of the production of cannabis. It's inefficient. And when we're talking about cannabis, it's not like, an aspirin pill, where one aspirin pill is pretty much the same as another aspirin pill. One strain can be vastly different than another strain. One method of producing that strain may produce different results than another method, aeroponics versus hydroponics versus soil and so forth. So it is the best interest of patients to have as many possible people providing the marijuana, growers who are going to tend to it themselves, human care for human beings.
And since it is Dr. Mitch Day, for the love of vaporizers, TradingMarkets.com is reporting that a new vapor inhaler is the latest cutting-edge tool in medical marijuana treatment. The company that makes the vapor inhaler says it is the world's only patented herbal vapor compression system, which allows the patients to compress herbal vapor into portable glass containers, currently up to a half an ounce, and dispense with the inhaler dispenser unit just like asthmatic sufferers use. This gives patients the capacity to have complete mobility with no herb, pipe, vaporizer, or lighter. Patients can just take their inhaler and go. The next generation of vapor inhalers from the company will have even more capacity so that patients can add up to 3 canisters for easy travel. According to the people who sell it, the compressed vapor stays fresh in the airtight glass canisters for up to 3 months. They say this can save growers and collectives over 28% in lost revenue due to stale herbs sitting in the inventory. The company, a subsidiary of Solomon Development, is working on the commercial application and are reporting explosive growth, no doubt. Like our beloved volcanoes, though, it will knock you back about $500. But the company said that they are planning to come to the convention in September in Portland and give everyone a demonstration as well as sell individual units.
Ganja John here. I've smoked out of just about, I think, every vaporizer on the market. And for the life of me, I can't figure out how this one works. I'm looking at it, and I just can't figure it out.
The compression system, Carrie, did you get any details on the function of it, how the mechanism, what's the chemical process going on here?
I do not know.
Well, I'll tell you how you can alleviate this. What's the name of the company, Carrie? Is it Vapor Inhaler?
The name of the company is the Vapor Inhaler, and I didn't want to say their website because I apologize. They have a terrible
horrendous
website.
It is a horrendous website.
Well, with just lots of stuff going on.
It's overproduced, is what I'd say. But Vapor Inhaler, people, it looks like a pretty promising product to me.
Well, I mean, if it can live up to the promises,
sounds amazing.
Yeah, if it can live up to the promises, I'm a little concerned. You know, that part where you mentioned, you know, it would keep the vapor for 3 months.
3 months,
because I know that. And is this a clear glass device here?
It looks like it.
I think that they had some metal canisters as well. She said eventually they'll be able to add 3 canisters, which would hold 1.5 ounces worth of vapor.
Because I know from talking with Dr. Mitch on numerous occasions when we talk about the archaeological digs when they find cannabis that it's not potent because after THC degrades, especially in heat and light. So 3 months for a THC vapor to stay viable
in glass, it wouldn't work.
I just don't.
It would
know.
have to be in a dark environment.
I wonder if they're saying
send us one.
Yeah.
Just send us one. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We'll do the beta testing.
They said they will be at the convention, and if we try it out and think that it's a good product, maybe we can have them on the show and talk more about it at that time.
Well, and actually, other vapor news. We talked about, Russ, how down at the Cannabis Cup you said I had Jedi mind power, so I can get anything.
Yes.
This last weekend, I traded a T-shirt for a bag filling vaporizer, Silver Surfer.
A Silver Surfer vaporizer for a T-shirt.
For a T-shirt.
You are amazing.
So at the end of this week, we'll have a Silver Surfer in the studio.
These are not the bongs you're looking
Maybe
for.
That's like that. Maybe that's like that guy that traded a paperclip for a house. Ganja John, you should go for something like that.
I just skipped a bunch of steps.
I know. Well, that's amazing. We'll get that in the studio and take a look at it. As far as this vaporizer, though, I'm concerned about that claim of the 3 months of being viable. I'm wondering if it's storing something, that's not in vapor form that then could be used for 3 months or something.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
Well, it does say it's a compression system, so that might be the key here. A patented compression system.
I've been seeing a lot of the just kind of on the same topic, but a different drug. The blue electronic cigarettes are starting to make inroads. I'm seeing more people using those. They're the vaporized. It's like an aerosol type of thing inside the electronic cigarette that vaporizes nicotine. I wonder if it might be something along those lines.
Yeah, I've always looked at those and I thought, can I smoke weed with that?
Yeah, I think it'd be quite different because I remember talking to the cigarette manufacturer. It had something to do with the temperatures at which nicotine versus THC vaporized make it impractical to make that for THC, but we'll have to take a look at this. We'll have to see how this works. Personally, I'm a big fan of the Volcano vaporizer, but again, that's spendy. $500, $600 retail.
This one is spendy too.
Yeah, you can make a vaporizer pretty cheap out of a heat gun and some bags.
Yeah, just some bags and a Craftsman's heat gun with the variable temperature knob, and people will use that many times. I've seen them use that with a special attachment on a bong too.
Right. Yeah, you can do it straight into a bong.
Yeah, you point the vape gun in, and that way you're taking care of the hot air which, Dr. Mitch has told us numerous times, the most harmful thing coming in when you're smoking pot is hot air. Your lungs do not like hot air. So, that could be
Maybe we can have him send a demo copy to Vapor King, and he can let us all know how it goes.
Whoa. You send a demo copy to Ganja John.
Yeah, we'll tell Vapor King all about it on the show.
I like Vapor King and all, but wow, come on. My name is Ganja John. Your name's Cannabis Carey. I think we should get it first.
His name's Vapor King, for goodness sake.
He is
Vapor King.
The king of vapors, yes. Okay. We're speaking, of course, of our chat room, folks. If you're just listening to us on the show, get involved with our chat. Just go to stickem.com, create your username, and send us a friend request. I'm updating them throughout the show. It's the only way you can get in the chat and ask your live questions of Dr. Mitch in just 10 minutes.
Speaking of vapor,
I think it is time to be doing some beta testing.
Yeah.
So y'all stay put. We'll be right back with your Irie Wednesday Daily Toker Tunes.
It's 20 after the hour, and we have to take a short break, if you know what I mean. Please support these sponsors who support NORML Show Live.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? Have you ever met that funny reefer man? If he said he swam to China, he would send you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
NORML Show Live will bring you exclusive live coverage of Seattle Hempfest on the third weekend of August. You'll probably remember more of it than those of us attending.
Today I was walking down the street, to my surprise, yeah.
High as a kite, everybody.
This drug in front of me is what they call marijuana.
If we had a dime for every dime bag bought in America, marijuana would be legal by now. Donate to NORML at NORML.org and support NORML Show Live.
I'm going to light.
Roll a big fatty.
It's time for your daily Toker Tunes, the best in 420 friendly music from all genres that uplifts, entertains, and informs the public. Today we get tunes for Irie Wednesday, our celebration of that mellow vibe we find in the best of reggae, ska, calypso, and Latin music. Brought to you by Johnny Reefer Seed and the High Rollers in Des Moines, Iowa. America's favorite red-eyed soul rock and roll band. Now available on iTunes and CD, baby. If you'd like to submit your song to be played on NORML Show Live, send it to us at stash@norml.org. Now here's some more great independent marijuana music for today's Daily Toker Tunes.
All right, welcome back. 22 after the hour. We're joined once again from Des Moines, Iowa by Johnny Reefer Seed. Johnny, how you doing? Hello.
Hey, good. How are you doing, man?
Oh, we're doing good. We just got that new intro from Dan Michaels, and I think he doesn't know there's a thing called CD Baby. I think he thinks your stuff's on CD.
CD, baby.
But that's cool.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get that. But, we're having a power outage in my neighborhood today, so I'm going to have to wing, and I can't read my thing. But anyways, the Toker tune today is by a band called Orange Grove. They started 2001 in the island of St. Martin in the West Indies, and later moved to the Netherlands a couple of years later. I don't remember all the names, of course, but anyways, you can check them out at myspace.com/Orange Grove Music, and from there you can get links to their other websites and that. And when I get my power back, I'll put on their bio with so everybody can get the links to their iTunes, because their stuff's really worth buying, but and their other links. So I'll get those up as soon as I can. And anyway, today's Toker tune is Token for My Baby. So
Token on Your Love.
Token for Your Love.
Yeah.
Token on Your Love. Yeah, thank you very much. But, great tune, so I'll fire it up there.
Well, you're doing great, Johnny, with the power outage. Thanks for joining us, and we hope you get your electricity on soon. This is Orange Grove with Token on Your Love.
If you're not resting by my side, you heard what I said. And still you now won't give me no answer. Why you playing with my mind? Whoa, I know you wanna taste of it. So tell me why you're acting so. Darling, you got me feeling well blessed. Talking on your love, darling. I'm talking on your love. Talking on your love, woman. I'm talking on your love, woman. Said, have you ever seen a brighter day, woman? Passing by for some kinky reggae. Me heart to the max and me can't get no hotter. Everybody else done think that me got her. Said me got no love, but girl me got a lot her. So when you come around, cool me down. No baby girl, no won't you cool me down. Talking on your love, darling. I'm talking on your love. Talking on your love, darling, I'm talking on your love. Ska diddly diddly dee, dee da yeah. Ska diddly diddly dee, dee da yeah. Yeah, yeah. Ska dee da fa dee, dee da yeah. Ska dee da dee.
Starfish Designs, makers of the original Gandalf.
I'm Radical Russ, and when I want to relax, I always have my 17-inch long original Gandalf from Starfish Designs nearby. The hand-blown borosilicate glass is strong and easy to clean, and the design is sleek and sophisticated. Starfish Designs are available from Bend, Oregon at a glass retailer near you. For locations, call 541-788-GLASS. That's 541-788-4527. Normal Show Live reminds you to never consent to a search. If you're holding and you consent, in most states you will be arrested immediately and you will go to jail. If you don't consent to a search, police may try to intimidate you by threatening to bring in drug-sniffing dogs or try to fool you by saying things will go easier if you consent. Yeah, easier for them, sure. Stand your ground, refuse the search, and ask the officer if you're free to go. If they still detain you and eventually find your contraband, you'll be no more busted than if you had allowed the search. But by refusing the search, your attorney has a chance to win your acquittal before a judge. If you consent to the search, your attorney's hands are tied. You can find a list of NORML Legal Committee attorneys specializing in marijuana cases by visiting the Find a Lawyer link at NORML.org.
It's time for NORML Show Live's Cannabis Science with Dr. Mitch Earlywine. Dr. Earlywine is a professor of psychology at the State University of New York in Albany and the author of Understanding Marijuana. Now here's your dose of cannabis science.
Welcome back to the show, 30 after the hour, and we're joined by Dr. Mitch Earlywine from Albany, New York. Dr. Mitch, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
We finally got that new intro for you with your promotion.
I was delighted to hear it.
That's a good thing. So before we get started on the live questions and answers, I want to give you the chance to illuminate us if there's any new studies or information you'd like to tell the audience.
A phenomenal new study came out that reviews a whole lot of previous work and presents some new data revealing that folks who are schizophrenic and who've been cannabis involved for quite some time seem to have fewer deficits on neuropsychological tasks than folks who haven't been cannabis involved. And this is driving, as you can imagine, a lot of prohibitionists crazy. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying cannabis is the cure for schizophrenia or anything, but the neuroprotective effects we've seen time and again from THC and a lot of cannabinoids seem to be helping folks with psychotic disorders keep from developing some of the impairments that normally are accompanied by schizophrenia.
Yeah, we often talk about schizophrenia because the prohibitionists like to bring it up. And we've noted how it's hard to tell whether or not these studies reveal that people that have schizophrenic symptoms seek to self-medicate with cannabis or whether the cannabis leads them toward the schizophrenic symptoms. But doesn't this kind of give us some look at the former, that they are trying to self-medicate?
Well, what's odd is we don't know if they turn to it to handle symptoms, although that seems to be a lot of what I hear clinically. But we are finding that if they do have symptoms and use, they don't end up with this inability to process information in a broad sense that a lot of schizophrenics have. They do have some impairments in a couple of specific domains, but we don't see this global loss of working memory and things like that are really important to daily life. And I want to emphasize that this can make a big deal for somebody enduring this illness, because if you can't hold enough information in your mind, you can't solve the daily problems that we all need to solve. And so I really do feel like this is an intriguing finding and one that I hope folks will turn to, particularly when we're getting the big cannabis causes schizophrenia malarkey.
Yeah, and again, once again, because of marijuana prohibition, it makes it that much harder for us to root out what the truth is here with regard to these syndromes. So again, we fight for legalization so that we can learn more about cannabis. We were talking earlier, Dr. Mitch, about a new vaporizer technology that had come out. We haven't seen it personally yet, but in that discussion, we got to talking about how long THC would remain viable in either a vapor, a tincture, or a flower, or even a hash form, and under different circumstances, under, whether it's subject to light or heat. Can you give us a thumbnail sketch of how long weed stays potent?
What's curious is it's really critical that there is no light and little heat. And then it's been impressive. The data only go out to about 90 days, but THC levels do not take a beating even in 90 days if the cannabis is kept relatively cool and definitely dark. I'm against putting it in the freezer in part because that tends to, make all the water freeze and dry it out in cumbersome ways. But certainly a refrigeration unit, I have to admit my wine cellar is a stellar environment for it, and that's great. Hash invariably keeps longer than flower, and tincture, in all honesty, doesn't seem to age very much. We've essentially gotten the cannabinoids into alcohol or oil, and it tends to keep particularly well if it's kept cool and in a colored bottle.
Do we have any historical record, or world record, I should say, on how long something has lasted? Like, have they found any of those early 1900s cannabis bottles that still were potent, or even going back to the tombs of some of these emperors where they find it, do they still find potent marijuana?
That last discovery in the Asian countries, they were going to try to analyze THC content, and it just didn't seem to work out. The way the sample was just too old to really test in a credible way. But some of the tinctures from basically before Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, nobody has published the data, but the lore is that they were, at one time in that 20 to 30% range THC, and have unfortunately declined. But I think they're still 2-3%, but they weren't often kept in very cool environments. So even though the bottles are brown, they're part of somebody's antique set, so it's not like they're keeping it in a refrigerator or anything like that.
I'd say, Dr. Mitch, that had I been in China when they found this tomb, I could have analyzed the ganja for them. The old-fashioned way.
Oh, boy. All right, we're going to get some questions now from our live chat audience. Again, if you want to get your question in on chat, you have to send us a friend request for Normal Show Live, and I'll be sitting here approving them. Cannabis Carry is copying and pasting them to me so I can get them to you. This first question comes from Grand Poobah, who references something you said last week about how smoking too much cannabis can make some pain more severe. He's a spinal patient. He says he smokes over an ounce of flowers and 2 grams of oil daily. Puff and tough. And I have never had a single hit cause more pain. So were you talking about the skin and cayenne pepper study, or was the question on spinal disc pain, or just in general, what is the efficacy of cannabis on pain, and can smoking too much of it cause more pain?
I completely believe this person, because everybody's tolerance level and sensitivity to pain varies. We only have the published data on that capsaicin, basically the hot pepper stuff, showing that too much does tend to increase pain rather than decrease it. But that's an acute stressor. That's not with spinal cord people, so it could be distinctly possible that it wouldn't generalize to this person. But also, if this person's got a higher tolerance than the people in that previous study, which sounds pretty likely at that dosage, then that would make sense as well.
Okay, so you're saying since the cayenne pepper study was acute stressor, meaning something that's making pain right now, an ouch pain, that's kind of a different situation than the neuropathic or spinal pain we talk about.
Exactly, and the other studies that have been done, usually inducing pain in the lab, they either have to stick their hand in cold water, or they have a hot light or a hot piece of metal put up against them. So I don't think it generalizes too well to this condition. The other curious study had to do with tooth extraction, and that one was dose dependent in the sense that more was better. So people didn't have to use as much codeine to deal with tooth extraction if they had a cannabis-based medicine.
I think we need a cannabis vaporizer dentist, John.
Hey, Ganja Dad is a dentist.
I think we could figure something out there.
Ganja Dad can show up and be on the advisory board at NORML, and he can attest, through anecdotal evidence through me, that smoking a lot of ganja after a dental appointment is pretty good for you.
Pretty efficacious.
I've had teeth extracted where he's given me a Vicodin prescription, and I go, nah, I don't need that. I got my vaporizer. I'm good.
That's good news. Okay, let's go to this question here from Arctic Bob, who wants to know, how can one grow medicine that is high in CBDs and low in THC, and why would you do that?
Ideally, high CBD strains would be for folks who find the THC experience aversive and who want to focus on some of the things that are linked primarily to CBD, particularly the anti-seizure properties, for example, might require high CBD, especially in folks who are uncomfortable with the THC experience because it may remind them of a seizure or even be reminiscent of one. And so those folks seem to do particularly well. The GW Pharmaceuticals spray, Sativex is seeming to do well with those folks. Some of the symptoms of MS seem to respond well to CBD. CBD tends to take the edge off the THC when they're done in combination, too, so there isn't a whole lot of magical ideation or thought distortion when CBD's around. Growing a strain that's high in CBD is a pretty protected technology right now, but the take-home message is usually starting with strains that are known for that and doing a lot of breeding, and then not concentrating so much on this high heat, incredible amounts of light situation that we know is so conducive to tons and tons of THC.
Mm-hmm. That's something also we'll have to remember to bring that question back up with Danny Danko on our fourth Fridays when we do Cultivators Corner, because he might have some more insight on the breeding side of that.
Yeah, and Harborside has what they say is a 100, has no THC. It's all CBD strain.
Yeah.
But, they're not sharing that information.
Yeah, highly guarded. Okay. This next question is kind of specific. I'll generalize it a little bit, too. The question's on whether or not mixing the drug tramadol with cannabis might have possible interactions or negative side effects, but also generally, do you know of any drugs that have negative side effects or interactions with cannabis use?
As you guys can imagine, given all the unknowns we have about cannabis itself, cannabis in combination with other things is a really under-investigated area. Tramadol at low doses can be a help to some pain, and I would imagine it would work a little bit synergistically with cannabis, so you might be able to lower the dose if you're taking it for pain under those circumstances. We don't have any data suggesting that would be a real negative thing, because they do tend to work on basically through different pathways and enzymes. The drugs that I'm most eager to discuss when it comes to synergy are, of course, alcohol, and then the surprising one, but Viagra. Alcohol tends to slow cannabis, well, at least THC metabolism, and so the THC impact tends to last longer. I do not recommend this, however, because alcohol is a toxin and THC is not. Right. And this isn't actually a way to lower your cannabis bill or something like that. So I know that that's there. It also creates odd subjective experiences that make people misjudge how much alcohol they've had, and I find that can increase the probability of some kind of ridiculous accident or, dare I say, wedding. The thing with Viagra is cannabis inhibits the enzyme that Viagra needs to break down. And again, people hear this and go, oh, what a great idea. But I'm kind of anti-Viagra in the sense that the whole tacit assumption that we, have to have a hard penis in order to have an intimate sexual experience is obviously aversive to my lesbian friends, but is also just not a good way to approach having a wonderful sexual relationship. And so I would encourage folks, cannabis is a natural aphrodisiac. We have data on that from the 80s, and I'm happy to attest to it myself. And the beauty of that and really enjoying just that aspect can make Viagra irrelevant. And if you don't get the biggest erection all the way up to the ceiling, well, guess what? You probably got a nice relationship with your partner where that may not be the biggest issue, and you can still have plenty of fun. And then save your Viagra for later if you really feel like you need something stiff between you.
And Ganja John always recommends people experiment with marijuana, but I never recommend a young person to experiment with Viagra.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's bad.
Trust me.
You're a teenager, you don't need it.
You're a 30-year-old, you don't need it.
All right, let's get back to some more questions here. Next one here, a lot of our listeners were really excited to watch the 2020 episode that was on last Friday about the mother who's treating her child with ADHD, another mother treating her child with obsessive compulsive disorder through cannabis use. What are your feelings on using cannabis medically for children?
I understand everyone's apprehension about it, but the long-term data on both OCD and ADHD, as severe as they were in these cases, is that these folks do not do well. So, I think if you're concerned that they're going to have lower grades in high school, your concerns are really misplaced. Severe OCD is bordering on psychotic. These folks are screaming and counting how many steps they take while they're on the sidewalk and stuff, and it's really a debilitating disorder at that level of severity. And I think anything that works is a mother's helper, because you have to understand these kids are in a family. This has an incredible impact on multiple people. And if, God forbid, a quarter of a cupcake makes them happy, by all means, let's let them do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fantastic. And we've interviewed one of the mothers, Miko Hester Perez, on our show, and her story is just, it'll make a believer out of you, that's for sure. Apparatus Beats has a question here. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got the wrong question. Sativa 25, this is an interesting question. What is in exhaled vapor? If vapor is mostly THC and the THC absorbs quickly, what's being exhaled?
In fact, what you have are these little particular matter that comes from the vapor that's often really difficult to identify, combinations of different gases that sound really aversive when you name them because their names have, 11 syllables and stuff like that, but are actually relatively harmless. And sometimes, of course, folks turn up their vaporizers too high, and then you're actually blowing out some of the burnt particulate matter. But in truth, there should be at most a light blue puff of air that comes out in that exhalation, and anything more than that suggests that you might be able to turn down the heat.
So it's just air, a little water vapor maybe?
And then these gases with names that sound incredibly horrifying but really aren't.
Okay. Follow-up question to that is, if someone were to load up the volcano and fill up a vapor bag and then put that vapor bag to the side, how long is that good for? Could they pick it up the next day, next week, and still get an effect?
It's an empirical question, but apparently THC can end up attaching to the plastic and being not absorbed so much as just stuck there, and then you really do lose some of the efficacy. We don't have a ton of empirical work, but informally folks have told me after about 90 minutes it's just not the same.
Yeah, I've fallen asleep with a vapor bag filling up, and then woken up hours later and then used it, and basically you get kind of like a sticky hash oil on the plastic. It just sticks to the inside, and you get nothing.
Okay. All right. Next one here from Benji420, and it's a question we've heard before, a topic we've heard before, but there might be some new folks that haven't heard your discussion of this. He's recently decided to stop using butane lighters. He's using a wick now, a beeline that's organic hemp with beeswax that you light on your bowl or your joint or whatever, so that you're not inhaling butane. What's your opinion on lighters and the inhalation of butane, that whole subject?
In fact, just inhaling butane on its own is really toxic, and so of course you don't want that to happen. If the butane is actually ignited, you're not inhaling a ton, but I like this move, particularly to the hemp-based wicks, because I feel like not only does it improve the lack of exposure to butane, it tastes a whole lot better. You don't have that nasty butane taste going to it. My friends who are cigar aficionados are really into the wooden match because that first puff on the cigar is so much better if it's not coming off of the same thing you use to light your barbecue.
And Cannabis Carrie's got an interesting follow-up on this. She just posted on chat. But, Carrie, I think this deserves mentioning about the lighters.
Yeah. As you know, when I lived back in Boise, I lived with a couple other tokers. We'll call ourselves heavy users. And in 1 month, we were able to fill up a jar with those horrible plastic disposable lighters. So ever since then, I've really been on a journey to tell tokers in particular, because we use lighters so much, to please. The refillable lighters are not, they're actually cheaper in the long run. They're not really that expensive, and use those if you can.
Yeah, the landfill,
much more eco-friendly.
Yeah, landfills are full enough of all of these lighters. That's right. Be eco-friendly. All right, another question coming up here. We've got time for maybe 2-3 more questions here. So let's get to this one from, I'm going to scroll up here, Mighty Lion. Cooking question, wants to know, is there a way to make cannabis butter without the overwhelming smell when heating the marijuana?
Alas, the only opportunity would be using a double boiler, put a lid on the top part as well, but then you really got to watch it. And then if you're okay with, say, only doing it for about 20 minutes, and God forbid you might leave a couple milligrams of THC behind, you could still get a nice psychoactive butter without creating a ton of smell in the house. But I got to be honest with you, it's really strain dependent, and it's still going to smell like something. But I have a friend who tends to have a little garlic basically burning in oil next to it, and that seems to keep curiosity away in his house.
Aha, it's a special Italian herb. That's what we're cooking. Okay. We have a question here from Shafe. Does cannabis affect the blood, like with a protein S and C deficiency and such?
That particular protein in the blood, we just don't have the data to say. Generally, when THC is in the blood, and as long as it doesn't lead to an incredible ingestion of fat and sugar, you're not going to see a ton of dramatic changes in blood parameters other than the concentration of cannabinoids. But that, I honestly don't think anything has been published on that particular protein deficiency.
Yeah. The only thing I've ever read on cannabis in the blood always has to do with states wanting to take blood to test whether or not you're impaired on the roadside. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, and in fact, it is much more accurate sign of recent use than urine screens, which could just show you got high 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We have another question from Arctic Bob about blood pressure, and this kind of interests me because, I don't have any kidneys. But does smoking cannabis actually make the blood pressure raise or lower, or is it strain dependent?
It's pretty consistent that cannabis will lower blood pressure, and everybody's got that horrible story about somebody who stood up too fast and fell down, but it's not reliable enough to be, a high blood pressure medication, for example. So I do get the occasional email asking about that. You'd have to really watch your blood pressure and get high, 11 times a day, which may not sound aversive to some people, and it's just not reliable enough to count on. There's a subset of folks who, because your heart rate is going faster and your blood pressure is higher, express a lot of concern about that as a technique for handling blood pressure. But most of the lab stuff shows mild decreases in blood pressure in response to THC.
I'd say anecdotally for me, if I'm smoking like hash oil and it makes me cough, that it'll make my blood pressure go up. But I'm kind of a different case.
In fact, coughing for any reason does spike blood pressure.
Yeah, so the coughing would spike the blood pressure for sure. My blood pressure readings have always been pretty normal, so I maybe that does something.
Yeah.
One more question here for Dr. Mitch. We want to remind folks, if you didn't have a chance to get your question answered on the air, you can send an email to 420research@gmail.com, 420research@gmail.com, and Dr. Mitch will take a look at that. Maybe we'll talk about it on the next show, or maybe he'll answer you privately. We get a lot of great information from your questions. The last question we'll have here is a private question, anonymous I should say, asking or stating, my wife takes Lexapro. She doesn't like to. Can she use cannabis instead? She says it works.
I am not a fan of Lexapro, and I'm actually pretty down on the antidepressants. And so I feel like, first off, if she's willing to, make sure she's doing fun stuff every day, getting out and going for nice walks, having a good time with loved ones and things like that, she may find that a couple of weeks of that alone are going to lift her depression. There are wonderful self-help books. David Burns' Feeling Good I just gave to a friend that really help you point out changes in your thinking that can make your mood markedly better. And, Tom Denson and I have shown that cannabis seems to help depression in folks who, particularly folks who are using it medicinally for physical ailments. And it's not my, antidepressant of choice. I'd much rather see folks do fun stuff and work on their thoughts in a 12-session treatment program. But Lexapro, a 2-year follow-up, doesn't seem to be doing a whole lot better than placebos. And so I feel like it's silly to take this medication when, in the long term, it's just not going to do the trick. And, 3 months of hard work with a therapist could really last you a lifetime.
All right. Well, I couldn't agree more, Dr. Mitch. Thank you so much for that perspective. And we visit with Dr. Mitch Earlywine every Wednesday here on NORML Show Live. So check us out next week. And Dr. Mitch, thanks again for providing a wonderful segment. Everybody in the chat room is praising you right at the moment. So thank you so much.
Hooray!
All right, folks, it's 53 after the hour. When we come back, our new segment, Viral Viper Videos. Stay tuned. It's NORML Show Live.
It's tough talking to kids about marijuana, especially if you might be a parent who dabbled a time or two in your youth.
So to help you out, get your copy of Dr. Mitch Earlywine's latest book, A Parent's Guide to Marijuana. Dr. Earlywine is an associate professor of psychology at the State University of New York at Albany and an expert on the studies concerning marijuana, its effect on health and society, and the methodology behind the statistics. He is a frequent guest here on our daily audio stash. Dr. Earlywine lays it all out without the propaganda and scare tactics that parents know won't work with teenagers. He presents a rational understanding of cannabis, what it is and what it isn't, and why kids shouldn't be using marijuana. You can order today through Amazon.com or check our links at our blog, stash.normal.org.
The most devastating effect of the war on marijuana is that it is a war on everyday people like you and me. All week, we speak to the doctors, scientists, celebrities, and politicians who make up the professionals fighting for cannabis liberty. But we never forget about the tens of millions who use cannabis, the millions who need medical access to cannabis, and the hundreds of thousands arrested every year for cannabis, and the tens of thousands imprisoned under our marijuana laws. At NORML, we are the Cannabis Consumers Lobby, and we take this opportunity to share the experience of our cannabis community.
All right, we don't have a Viral Viper video intro yet, so it's Cannabis Community. This is the video sweeping the internet. It's called The Flower, and it talks about ending prohibition. We'll switch the board over here to the video for it and enjoy this. That's great video from blackmustache.com. The Flower. It's making the rounds on YouTube, over 250,000 views so far. I'm hoping we can push that to many, many more views because I think it puts together the whole narrative of the drug war and the effect of criminalizing a plant in a way that hasn't been done this well in a long, long time. It's a fantastic video, and I urge you to pass it on to your friends. And the other reason I wanted to bring this up, go ahead. Did you have something?
I was going to say, show it to your kids. I mean, show it to teenagers. Show it to everybody. If somebody had showed me that when I was 15, my life would be very different.
Yeah, it can make a difference. These things are very important. And that leads me to this contest that we're announcing in cooperation with NORML, Slightly Stupid, and Cypress Hill. It's the Yes on Prop 19 YouTube video contest. You can win a phone call from Be Real of Cypress Hill, a limited edition Slightly Stupid vaporizer, a framed and autographed tour poster, and a free 1-year membership to NORML. The Legalize It Slightly Stupid Tour and Cypress Hill have teamed up with the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws to do a fan video contest in support of Prop 19. Prop 19, on California's ballot this November, would allow adults 21 and up to buy marijuana for recreational use and cause it to be taxed just like alcohol. If passed, this would be a huge step forward in the fight to end marijuana prohibition. Our government could generate between $12 and $18 billion in tax revenue, save over $200 million in law enforcement costs, and create 60 to 80,000 new jobs. We need you to make a video, 60 seconds or less, stating what you think California should do with the revenue generated from taxing marijuana. Upload it to YouTube and be sure to tag it with Yes on Prop 19. All one word. YESONPROP19. Yes on Prop 19. All one word. Tag that on your YouTube video. A pool of finalists will be selected based on which videos having the highest number of comments and views, and then the best video from those finalists will be awarded the grand prize. The grand prize winner will receive a personal phone call from Be Real of Cypress Hill, a limited edition Slightly Stupid vaporizer, a framed and autographed tour poster, and a free 1-year membership to NORML. 2 runners-up will also receive a special prize pack full of autographed t-shirts, hats, CDs, and special edition Slightly Stupid rolling papers and lighters. Finally, all of the grand prize and runner-up entries will be posted on our Facebook page, the Cypress Hill Facebook page, and the Slightly Stupid Facebook page for worldwide fame. We'll also play them here in our Viral Viper videos on NORML Show Live. Here's the rules. Everyone who enters must be at least 18 years old and a U.S. resident. Additionally, all videos must have the tag Yes on Prop 19, all one word, so that we can find your entry on YouTube. The contest ends September 1st, 2010. For more information on Prop 19, check out NORML.org and taxcannabis.org. And Californians, please remember to register to vote by October 18th. Vote yes on Prop 19 and let's end marijuana prohibition. So we're looking forward to that. The Yes on 19 video contest. We had a great video contest with the NORML ad contest, which led to the Times Square billboards. So I'm sure we're going to get plenty of great entries.
Maybe Ganja John will start it off tonight. Maybe I'll make a Prop 19 video.
Yeah, everybody make a Prop 19 video. 60 seconds, send it into YouTube, tag it with Yes on Prop 19. We might add some prizes to this, too.
Oh, yeah, we got all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we'll throw in some stuff to the winners as well.
Maybe a High Times Cannabis Cup t-shirt.
Maybe a poster signed
Maybe
from Nico Escondido.
Oh,
and
that's
Danny
true.
Danko.
That's true.
Yeah, we got all sorts of good stuff. So get those entries in, and we will feature them here on NORML Show Live in our Viral Viper videos, on our YouTube channels, on Facebook, and on the Stash blog, of course. Check out the Stash blog at stash.normal.org. If you have any comments about the show, send them to me at stash@normal.org. Radical Russ on Twitter, Ganja John on Twitter, and for Cannabis Carry, take care of each other, tokers.
This is NORML Show Live, the voice of the Marijuana Nation.
Take it out one more time. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it.